This episode is brought to you by DeSanto Propane. DeSanto has been serving the energy needs of upstate New York since 1937. They're a fourth-generation family-owned business that has prioritized dependability, reliability, and integrity. If you have energy needs, call DeSanto and tell them we sent you. Visit DeSantoPropane.com to learn more. And by the Fox family of dealerships on Route 5 in Auburn. Check out their vast inventory of new and used cars by visiting foxdealerships.com. From the FreedomX1.com studio, this is Inside the FLX. I'm Josh Durso, and today our program begins with a proposed $20 million project on Carter Road in Geneva. $20 million, Ryan Wallace. Is that correct? $20 million?
It is. That's conservative.
Ryan Wallace is my guest today in studio. Ryan, thanks so much for coming back.
Thanks for having me, Josh. Appreciate it.
So give us the lowdown. First of all, let's break into this project, and you've got projects all over the place.
So we have three projects that we're developing right now, and it's been really exciting to see things take off, and it has a lot to do with our team. We've got a really ever-growing group of people. We're up to 22 people now that are building the homes and in the office making the developments happen. And Carter Road is, I think, the development that's going to really put us on the map, regionally, even maybe nationally, because it's got a lot of things to it that are incredibly unique and are really, I think, what we've been building towards. Okay, so probably most people listening have either seen pictures of or they have driven by the Lake Tunnel solar development. Yep.
So pivoting from that, how will this project be different, or how would this project be different, and what components will this include? So
what we've done is we've kind of learned from the Lake Tunnel site. It was always meant to be kind of our pilot project site, learning what how we could build a home really efficiently and to not have heating bills and electric bills. That has turned out wonderfully beyond our expectations. We've got homes down there that are using 50 cents a day of energy if they didn't have solar. So you think about that, you're spending $15, $20 a month to heat and power your home, even if it didn't have solar. Now, as it's gotten colder, that's certainly increased to $1, $1.10 a day, but still, it's incredibly low usage, and so we couldn't be more proud of how the homes are coming together and their efficiency. A lot of people get caught up on the architecture, and architecture is it's incredibly important, but it's very easy to change. What's hard is building this envelope, this really high quality envelope, and then getting the process right so that we can build it efficiently. So what you're going to see in the next developments is you're going to see some more traditional architecture, more gable roofs. We have kind of this Adirondack cabin feel in a lot of the new homes that are going to be on Carter Road. And what we've learned there is that we're going to build the core of the home in the factory and then build the rest of the home actually on site. Because what we build in the factory is really the hard part. It's all the solar, it's the kitchens, the bathrooms, the plumbing, the electrical, the HVAC, all the smart systems. All of that's done in the factory, and we don't have any subcontractors. So we're doing that really efficiently in factory. And then we build what I kind of call the easy square footage on site. So living rooms, bedrooms, all of that's done on site. And it lets you have all kinds of different appearances of the home. You can do these big cathedral ceilings. I can't do a cathedral ceiling when we build in the factory because I got to drive it down the road. Yeah. So doing it this way, we get a lot more variety, and yet we keep all the efficiency of the factory work.
And to that point, talk a little bit more about the architecture side of it. And, from my perspective as a 20-something, 30-something, folks in that demographic don't care for that architecture of a home from the 1990s, from the 1980s, or even from the early 2000s, frankly. That colossal, big, multi-angle, and I think we kind of talked about it a little bit the last time you were here.
Yeah, it's in what we've built at Lake Tunnel. It's very, not that we need another polarizing thing in our society, but it's kind of a polarizing thing. You're either young or from a more urban area, and it speaks to you, yeah. Or you're looking for a more traditional design, and it just looks like boxes. Mm-hmm. And so it's what we've tried to do is not make people choose that one or the other, because it's not to say that from a gable roof is better than a flat roof. Our roofs aren't flat, but they're nearly flat, just like every commercial building in every downtown. But I don't want to tell someone, hey, you want a net zero home, you want a more appropriate sized home, you have to have a flat roof. No, I don't want to tell them that. I want to give them the options and just let them choose, but still have a home that's net zero. What we won't do is we won't build a 3,000 square foot home. So
to that end, what obviously we can't pull the visual out, but what do some of the plans look like for the Carter Road development versus what people have seen?
Yeah.
You say a little more traditional, but is it going to be a far move to those very sort of traditional ranch style designs and things like that, or is it going to be kind of a hybrid, something that floats in the middle a little bit?
It's a little bit in the middle. It's so what we have for Carter Road for the single family homes are what we still call our solar villas, but they've got a peaked roof with big cathedral ceilings, and they have long patios down the sides, long covered patios down the sides. So you have this outdoor living space, and from the front, you're seeing something that is very reminiscent of an Adirondack cabin, something a little bit taller roof. Now, those homes are there's going to be about 40 of those homes at Carter Road, and those are really geared towards either the downsizing retiree or the family, because they've got some yard to them, not a big yard because nobody wants the yard maintenance anymore, and they've got a 2-car garage kind of tucked around back and kind of hidden around back. We believe strongly in having the front of the home not be the garage, and that's really important to us for a number of reasons, but especially because we want to foster a sense of community. And that kind of leads me to what I think is really the groundbreaking part of the Solar Village, what we call the Geneva Solar Village on Carter Road, is that all the single-family homes are going to be built around the multifamily buildings. And, you think multifamily buildings and what some of our neighbors out there are kind of concerned about, we're friends with a lot of our neighbors, is just we're going to stick a traditional apartment there in the middle. And nothing could be farther from the truth. The fact that these units are attached are the only thing that makes them similar to an apartment. But really what you've got in what are called the solar pods is you've got big townhomes, single-level townhomes that are in the ends, that have their own yard, that are really, really beautiful units that anybody could see themselves living in. Even a young family who might never consider a traditional apartment would look at this and be like, wait a minute, I've got 3 sides, I've got yard all around, I've got a lot of space inside the unit, I've got 1,000 square feet, which for us is a lot of space, and for a lot of people who are downsizing is just enough space. And then I've also got these for people who are single or single retiree or single millennial, we've got micro apartments which open up into big common spaces. And so those common spaces have gyms and theaters and event rooms and gathering spaces and little reading nooks and all kinds of places to do things outside of your unit, but you're not having to take care of that space. And you've actually got better quality choices and more of them. And so now you've got this community of single-family homes ringed around those common buildings, and you have a much greater sense of community. You have events going on. You have, Super Bowl night. You might have the choice of 4 different theaters to go to, and you pick the one that's, maybe got the team that you're rooting for. Anybody but the Patriots? Not that I have a bias. And I'll be in the Bills fan section. And it's like, you have evening dinner nights. You're going to have, we have a partnership with Port 100. We're going to have remote co-working sites up there so that if we want to encourage people to come downtown, but if you're just not feeling going downtown that day, you've got an area that you can go work at. And so, I'm really excited about the community that this development's really going to entail.
And now you mentioned something that I want to get into a little more. One of the features, I think, one of the selling points that doesn't get as much attention as it probably deserves is, and this is especially important, I think, to millennials and young families in particular, maintenance-free living in a lot of these circumstances. Walk us through what that part of this lifestyle looks like if you are living in one of these solar units compared to the traditional home where you're mowing lawns and you're doing all the things that, a lot of people just don't enjoy doing.
So the thing I tell people about this, first of all, the development has, when you live in the solar pod buildings, you have one bill. Your one bill is your lease, it is your heat, your electricity, your internet, your water, your refuse, your composting, your and this is where it gets really exciting, your shared vehicle access. So the development's going to have 40 community electric vehicles that you can then go and check out, and you're allotted a specific number of hours a week. So if you have to commute every day to work, it's not going to replace your vehicle. But if your spouse works at home, or if you're retired, you might be able to just delete that second vehicle, and some people might even be able to delete, to get rid of their main vehicle. That doesn't work for everyone. But you'd be surprised how many people work at home now, and what they use their car for is maybe an occasional trip up to Rochester or Syracuse. Mm-hmm. And then most often it's, Wegmans. It's something nearby. Mm-hmm. And so we are going to introduce the shared vehicle program at the development. And so that one bill covers even that. So now you're talking about not having an electric bill, heating bill, car payment, car insurance, maintenance. Someone else is maintaining the vehicles. We're going to have electric bikes. So good news for Geneva Bicycle. We'll be buying a bunch of electric bikes. And so that even includes that level of mobility. So I don't even need the car. Just take the electric bike. And if you've ridden an electric bike, it's phenomenal. It's like a 2-mile trip is just nothing. Yeah. So it's really exciting in that you've got this one bill. But the second thing that I mentioned is it's really unique to this is that one of the ways that we can actually offer a whole bunch of lifestyle amenities without really breaking the budget is that we are going to require a certain number of hours that you contribute per month within the development. And you think about that, and your first reaction might be like, well, I'm not going to mow grass. Like, I don't want to mow grass. Like, I'm doing this so I don't have to mow grass. Great, don't mow grass. I guarantee you I'll find 5 or 10 guys who will love to mow the grass. You could hang out in the community room once a week and proctor the community room. You could, if you have bookkeeping skills, you could help out with the books a couple hours a month. If you enjoy engaging with children, we're going to have kind of a loose, children's area. It's not daycare, but if you want to bring your kids there, there's reading nooks for the adults, and the kids are playing in the middle. And if you want to help kind of proctor that, if that's your speed, go for it. If you just enjoy, occasionally going through and mending the gardens, we're going to have on-site gardens and some greenhouses, and we're hoping to work with some local nonprofits on that, so you could actually work in those spaces and help actually generate food from the community. And the reason we're doing it mandatory is we feel like when you really get into people and the details of their life, it's not that they don't have time for other things. It's just that they feel that they're required to do certain things that they just don't want to do, like cleaning the gutters or mowing the grass. And yet none of us, I think, is really opposed to being an active part in our community if we can kind of pick and choose some of the things that we really enjoy doing. And so we're hoping to leverage some of that, help keep some of the prices lower for the rents, but still provide all these amenities.
What was the transition like as you guys sort of geared? Obviously, the Solar Village in the city of Geneva is still very much a project that you guys are actively working in.
Yep.
But the sort of mindset and organizational shift as you're flanking from one active project to another budding project that has a long way to go. What was that mindset shift like, and what was the process actually like for you guys?
So
other than really stressful, because I'm sure it was that.
There's some stress, but what it is that I feel like you have to understand your market first so that you're not being presumptive. Businesses fail when they think they know better than the market, and they're just going to jump in and through sheer force of will, shape the market to their product. It doesn't work. And what I think we really did was, people say, well, they're the home design's kind of radical, or some of the things we're talking about, shared transportation's kind of radical. But it's not us sitting around saying, hey, we should do this and just force it on people. It's the other direction. We've talked to literally thousands of people over the past few years, and they may not think of something like shared transportation off the top of their head, but if I ask them how often do they use their second car, and they really think about it, and they say 2 hours a week. And I said, what if I could save you $200 a month by not having that car, but give you the same mobility that you have now? I say, yeah, absolutely. Let's do it. And so the learning process heading into Lake Tunnel was a huge part, and then the learning process through Lake Tunnel was a huge part. So in that development there on 5 and 20, we're constantly learning the best way of doing things. We thought we'd build it in stages. We thought that would be safer. And in reality, we had enough sales to just build it all at once, and that's what we should have done. But we had to create a factory, and we had to create a team and everything at the same time. So, what other things I would have done differently is I would have built some of the more architecturally kind of fancy buildings first, because people saw some of the most boxy buildings first and kind of classified it in their brain as like, oh, that's what they build. When you actually look at what we're building right now, they're very different from the first homes that we built architecturally. And so what I think that did was gave us the confidence to say, okay, we literally have hundreds of people on a wait list for another development. So we're good there. So are we going to really jump in? Are we going to dive in and take this not only to development here in Carter Road, but we're doing one down in Ithaca? And my inspiration for that is a little movie called Tommy Boy. And Brian Dennehy's character, he's the sales guy. He's this typical sales guy, but like the king of sales guys. He says, but more importantly, he's a small business owner. And even though it's a silly movie, it's Tommy Boy, there's some real small business gems in there where he says, you're either growing or you're dying. There ain't no third direction. And we've got a poster of that actually up in our office. And it's true. Unfortunately, in today's kind of big box store, big corporate environment, if you're a small developer, small business, you have to be careful and think about your core customers and make sure you're taking care of them. And you have to dream big, and you have to push the envelope and push. So, long answer to your question, but it's basically, by focusing in our customers, making sure they're happy and really figuring out what they want, how they want it, and pairing that with dreaming big, it's really pushed us along.
What's the timeline look like for the Carter Road development?
Both Carter Road and Ithaca will break ground this year. With first occupants aggressively would be the end of this year. Maybe realistically beginning of next year. We have a new 3-story building that's going to be going up at Lake Tunnel. It's $1 million building that will have 7 micro apartments and this great 3rd floor apartment that some wonderful buyers have purchased that have been huge supporters of the project. And I don't think they'd mind if I say their names. Heather and Don Plano, just been fantastic, and they're going to have the 3rd floor, and it's enabled us to build this big building, and we'll have kind of our test apartments for the solar pods, and we'll actually be starting on that here just in about 2 months. And as a side note, that's actually going to radically change the whole look of the solar village too, because you're going to have this big building right up by 5 and 20. That I think it's going to be a beautiful building. It's we've really put a lot of time into the architecture of it. So it's a lot going on, but again, we've got great people and some wonderful buyers who are really believing in what we're doing.
Now, you said you had the wait list was sort of the inspiration, I guess, or the impetus to keep going and to keep growing.
Yeah.
How does it feel knowing that, in a community like Geneva or in the Finger Lakes, in a more rural part of the Finger Lakes, frankly, in the grand scheme of things, that there's this kind of interest or this level of interest in solar homes as you guys are sort of going down this road?
I think that it's not to say that all of our buyers are saying, I got to have a solar home, but it's pretty hard to find someone who's not interested in paying a big heating bill or wants to have a high maintenance home. So we're, I think, hitting kind of the market right at the right time with the right product. But the second thing is that you've got a huge, everyone focuses on out-migration of New York, and that's a real thing. But I found that you find me someone who says, I hate upstate New York. I mean, there may be complaints of regulation or political complaints or questions of taxation. But when you say, who here really loves living in the Finger Lakes as a place to live, I would say that response is very strong. But the problem that a lot of people are having, especially as they get older, is can I age in place in my home? And are there enough builders addressing that and creating a variety of living spaces that let me stay here and be close to my kids and my grandkids, and instead of just buying a condo and moving to Florida and saying goodbye to this region? And I don't think fundamentally a lot of people want to say goodbye. And I would actually say housing is a major reason for it. I'm not saying those other issues aren't in the foremost of a lot of people's minds, but housing is, I think, a huge part of that migration. We've created kind of this bad feedback loop where enough builders are not saying, I want to jump into upstate because it's a great market. No one's saying that. But at the same time, it becomes a little bit self-fulfilling if there aren't real places for people to move into. I mean, if you live in a two-story, 3,000 square foot home on a county road right now, I mean, your local options, your widely available local options are pretty limited and where you can downsize into. And you go to Florida, and there's 10 billion condos that all look the same, but they're available.
Sort of off topic, but I want to ask, is there eventually going to be some sort of crisis in housing in terms of the stock that's left over when we pass this point where people aren't interested in those 2,500, 3,000, 3,500 square foot homes anymore, and people are just, the norm is a relatively small, maybe half or less the size of some of those traditionals?
I think so. I think
because they aren't just going to go away.
And you're right. And no one in those communities is going to be okay with rezoning those homes and splitting them up into multifamily like they have done with the big Victorians in downtown sectors. Like, I just don't see that happening easily. So then if you have one of those homes and you're planning on keeping it for 20 years, you're proceeding on the assumption that that the millennial generation is going to outgrow this desire to not have a big home with a lot of maintenance. And I just think that's a big ask. I think when you grow up in the age of Facebook and Instagram and Pinterest, and you grow up naturally every day seeing a just incredible variety of things that people are doing and the way they're doing it, it really makes you question how you are spending your time right now. And if you're spending your time right now cleaning a gutter, stripping paint off siding, and this is the worst one, I think, is mowing the grass, there's something now to compare it to that previous generations did not have. I didn't realize I could be, I don't know, kite surfing right now. Even if you were never going to kite surf, it instills that feeling in the back of your mind of, do I really need to be spending this time doing this maintenance? And then the second part of that is college debt. That you start talking about people coming out of college with $50,000, $60,000, $100,000 of debt, and then saying you need to not only buy this 3,000 square foot home for $300,000, $350,000, even if you're lucky, $250,000, but then you need to put another $98,000 into that home over the next 15 years in the form of exterior paint, new roof, maybe upgrade the kitchen, upgrade the live-in basement. So now you're talking about a total debt load of, let's say you got the home for $250,000. So basically you're at $350,000 now, plus your college debt at another $50,000 to $100,000. That debt avoidance, I think, will not just suddenly go away. So long answer to your question, I would not want to be owning a home over 1,500 square feet in one of these subdivision tracts, even 10 years from now.
And as we wrap up our half hour here, it's gone really fast. What is the biggest misconception still to this day with what you guys are doing? And what is the next big thing that people are going to see with the Carter Road development?
So first, the misconception, I think, is that people see small homes or boxy homes and they think, well, those are not quality homes. And the number one response we get when people walk in the door is, oh, this is actually beautiful. And I said, why do you have to say actually?
Ouch.
But there's no denying it once they come in. You see the finishes, you see the quartz counters, the solid wood cabinetry, the detail that our finish crew puts into it, Justin and his crew puts into the finish work. It's outstanding. And so I would just say, don't judge, a book by its cover or a home by its outer shell. Once we have the model home up at Carter Road, which will be, this coming fall, just come in, and if you leave with that impression, I'd be shocked. And so that's what you'll see next, is you'll see us start the site work in the summer on Carter Road and putting in, the expanded utilities. And then you'll see us start on both the first single-family homes, one of which will be a model home, and then our first solar pod building out there. Ithaca will be on pretty much that same schedule, but maybe about a quarter, about 3 months, behind it. And so we're really excited about that. It's also going to be in tremendous growth in our company. We'll probably be hiring another 20 or 30 permanent employees over the next 6 months.
Curious, how are you managing the operations happening so far away from each other? I think that's probably one of the questions that's still lurking out there with some of the folks who are hearing that you're running two similar tracks in two totally different places. How systematically are you approaching that? So
we've got a couple partnerships that we're not ready to announce, but we've been working on for about the next 6 months with large, well-established companies that will be a big pieces of those site builds that we're really excited for. And we knew from the beginning that what we had developed was a model that would certainly be refined and improved, but that others would replicate in more remote areas. And so that's what we're really excited to see. And frankly, that's why we built the factory, because at the end of the day, we're good at designing the communities and working with people to integrate people into those communities, and we're really good at building that core of the home. We've gotten excellent at building that core of the home. I mean, we've got a crew down at the factory that's just really starting to hit on all cylinders and is really coming together and putting out just a really quality product. And so that's a big part of it is really designing for scalability. And we're certainly getting very close to really taking off with that.
More to come.
More to come.
Ryan, thanks for coming in.
Thank you, Josh. Appreciate it.
Thanks for joining us this hour on Inside the FLX. I'm Josh Durso, and we'll be back next week with another episode. In the meantime, download the FingerLakes1.com app to have the latest local breaking news, alerts, and podcasts delivered right to your hand each and every day. Follow and subscribe to the show on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. If you enjoy the program and can support us, head over to patreon.com/FL1 to pledge monthly support. If you have an idea for a show or simply want to let your voice be heard, drop us an email or leave us a voice message by visiting InsideTheFLX.com. Thanks again for listening. I'll see you back here next week.